So the one that I chose for our exam review too is the lawns and weed. Well, I was kind of assigned it. And that article was actually pretty cool. So I figured that the best way that we can understand the article is to go through the questions because the questions are really thought provoking. Um, so we know that the article was mainly on lawns, upkeeps, and chemicals and everything like that. So the question, why do people use chemical inputs on their lawns while acknowledging the risks? Well, in the reading, lawns were referred to as being a cultural phenomenon, and that good lawns mean good people. So each neighborhood creates its own little community, and they have certain requirements for a lawn to be socially acceptable. It has to be green, it has to be full, and a natural lawn isn't always like that. So people find ways to justify putting chemicals on their lawn because it doesn't directly affect them or their physical health or well-being. And they can just be like, oh, I just wanted my lawn to be pretty. That's why they do it. It's a cultural upkeep now. Um, so going over that, one of the questions that kind of made us think about what we do that we know is risky. I know one person said that they use really harsh, like cleaning solvents, that can affect, people in their house. They're not entirely sure if it really does or not, but it does have like a strong odor. Um, some other things I could think of is just like leaving the sink running, which I do almost every morning when I have to let the water warm up so I can take a hot shower. If you miss the trash can and you just leave it there, you litter. Smoking, the chemicals in the atmosphere, same with leaving a car running and like leaving a light on, you're draining energy. You're about to make your energy bill a lot higher. So, sorry, we skipped. So, do you agree or disagree with Maybe's characterization of weeds? This was really thought provoking. Um, Something that I took away from it was weeds are open to interpretation. And that's because a lot of the definition of a weed is based off of social stigma. It's culturally characterized as something that's undesirable, unwelcome, like an eyesore. It's bad. It's bad for a garden. It can kill some of the plants or, whatever that is. I'm not into gardening, so I don't know exactly what the big issue with weeds are. Um, it can just, it can take over a garden. And I agree with things that she said, but I also like kind of don't. I think mainly because I used to love dandelions. I thought they were so pretty. Used to play with them. Used to put them under my chin and tell kids if yellow reflects off the flower and onto your chin, then you like peanut butter. One of those weird things. Like I used to love dandelions, and the fact that they were put under the category of being a weed and no one liked them and they were constantly like plucked and uprooted just so a lawn can be prettier. It's doesn't seem like it's a weed to me. So with that, what is left out of his characterization? With me saying that weeds are open to interpretation, I feel like that's because the weed itself wasn't specifically addressed. It's not saying that ugly plant in the ground, anything like that. It was more like littering or trash or graffiti or just things that are eyesores or just not welcome or things that can affect the immediate environment. I feel like he kind of, yeah, he left out the specific, that's a weed, that's a plant, but it was assumed and grouped in because, we're talking about lawns here. So what were other things that we took away from this? It kind of made it seem like um, cultural things that we value, you would want to assume that that's natural and healthy, but I think in this aspect it's not. And each culture is different. But the fact that our lawns, what we want our lawns to look like has to be chemically influenced and kind of turned a blind eye to. Um, I feel like that kind of goes against what culture should be. But, to each their own.